Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our podcast, Mage Site. I'm Drew.
I'm Josh.
And I'm Chris.
And today we are coming at you with another media walkthrough and how it relates to Mage the Awakening.
Magical review.
Magical review. The TV show that we watched, we only watched the first episode, not the whole thing.
Yep.
Well, we've seen the whole thing before, is The Magicians, which is a very good show.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
The television show, The Magicians, is based on the first book in the trilogy by Lev Grossman following Quentin Coldwater. It was written as a sort of, I can write a magical academy right.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is my version of what a magical academy would look like. It was.
Well, he thought he could write magic better than J.K. Rowling did.
And one of the things that he did that was different than Harry Potter is these guys aren't children when they discover their magical abilities.
Mm-hmm.
They're actually applying to grad school.
Yeah, it's college, not public school.
Mm-hmm. Well, private school.
Oh, sure. Grade school.
Mm-hmm. So basically what the first episode is about is a young man named Quentin who is going through some mental health issues, and he's applying to grad school. He wants to go to Harvard, and his best friend Julia wants to go to Yale, and they grew up together.
So they're falling apart. He's losing his best friend.
She has become engaged and is no longer obsessed with magic like they were when they were kids.
Yeah.
And he's still holding on to, as she feels, their childhood and needs to grow up.
He's also struggling with mental health. He's checked himself briefly into a clinic.
Mm-hmm.
And he is considering selling his first edition of his favorite book, Valerian Further.
Well, let's get into it.
So do you want to go into how the story starts?
Sure. It opens up with a bird-eye view of New York City. And then it goes through and just, it shows you a little bit of the life of this banal world. It's even kind of washed out. And it scans past this bench to a door that looks like one of those doors in a building that is only to exit, not to enter. Like it's big and it's heavy. And all of a sudden, that door swings open. And there is a lush, beautiful landscape that this gentleman just strolls out of with his newspaper in hand, walks to that bench, sits down, and then is approached by a woman who apparently was late because he told her, but he just arrived. How could she be late if he just arrived? I guess maybe she was supposed to be sitting on the bench first. So that's that first bit of magic with that door flying open. And we see two different places at the same time.
Yeah.
Space 3 co-location is for making portals of any kind. And you want to have two locations be overlaid so that essentially where the door frame is and where it is in the field far away are connected.
Mm-hmm. It is one of my favorite spells when it comes to space. You can just open the door and you don't even need to take an airplane anymore.
Yeah. I do think it's funny that where he could just teleport in, he doesn't have to have a gateway to
Can he teleport?
That's in the realm of space.
Oh.
If he could make a portal in a doorway, then he would be able to teleport.
Portal in a doorway is much cooler. Plus, if he's arriving on a busy street like that, he doesn't want to just appear. He has to, come from somewhere.
I'm really curious.
The doorway portal is way more stylish.
I agree.
I am curious on what he is walking at from his perspective. Like, he's walking through a field, but is there an archway? Is he in that moment creating the connection so that he just makes the transition and we happen to be seeing that before it happens? You don't actually know exactly what effect or how it's working there.
Maybe it's a building that we don't see, theoretically. And he opens the door to this shack or something. I don't know. That's just the portal shack.
Yeah.
It could just be a building. That's kind of what I was thinking. It's just a regular, a door to a building, and he's just well, I'm going to take this door and go somewhere else.
What if it's just a frame in the middle of nowhere?
I have a feeling it's at Break Bells.
Oh, sorry. Not in the middle, but in the middle of a field, there's just a frame.
I mean, at Break Bills, there could just be a frame in the middle of nowhere.
Yes, there could be.
For exactly that purpose.
Or just on the edge of the field where all the trees are.
Mm-hmm. And the fact that they got there at the same time is also indicative of something, like either time or fate to get there just at the right time.
True, which also leads to she wasn't late. She
Well,
was precisely on time.
Maybe it was, and he actually cast a time and fate spell to go to the correct time. Well, time, fate, and space spell, let's say, to go to the correct time through the doorway.
Yeah.
And then he looked at his watch and saw what time and day it was, or what. I don't know if he actually looked at his watch, though. So maybe
I can't remember.
Maybe he can just cast a time spell to know what time it is.
I think the enigmatic nature of wizards is that they have a lot more is going on. I think you actually might be right about like multiple layered timelines, especially as we get further into the story.
True.
That kind of thinking actually starts to be pretty accurate between especially those two characters.
True.
And after that scene, it kind of goes to a scene with Quentin in a meeting at a clinic with a mental health therapist. And he spins a coin, or there is a coin spinning. And I guess it's presumed he kind of spun the coin with his hands. But it does seem to spin in almost a little bit of an unnatural way, and like kind of for a long time. And so it seems like there's a little bit of an effect going on there.
Quentin tends to do magic tricks. Like that's one of his things, is he just does card tricks and coin tricks. And I think that is one of the just innate times, like when he's doing that, he's just innately using magic, you know? And I agree that coin spinning, was a little odd in the way that it seemed to be too precise. Like it was too neatly spinning, you know? It didn't have any wobble to it. It didn't look like it was going to fall. Like it wasn't slowing down. It was spinning in a way, in consistency, that even if it was wobbling or wobbled, it didn't look like it was actually ever going to fall over.
Absolutely.
You know?
We saw sort of a suggestion of magic.
After the scene in the mental health institution, Quentin, in that scene with the doctor, he's trying to explain why he is ready to leave. He checked himself in, he's ready to go. And in the next scene, he's back at home where there's a party going on at his house, or apartment. And after awkwardly enjoying the festivities, trying to make conversation with people, he ended up back in his room reading the first edition to his favorite childhood book series, Fillory and Further. Once again, spoilers. This is all for spoilers.
Fillory and Further has a sort of similar aesthetic to Narnia.
Yes, most definitely. When Quentin's reading the book, it actually takes us into the story, so it's almost like a flashback. And, you know, we learn about the three siblings. Unlike Narnia, there's only three, one girl, two boys. And they enter Fillory not from a wardrobe like in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, but through a grandfather clock.
Two ram heads at the top.
Yep. And so that's the next kind of magical thing. So they walk through this clock and they end up in a magical world. They come out of a trunk of a tree like it was the other side of the clock, which is a space spell. But the world itself, you mentioned something that world could be earlier.
In Mage, there is something called an emanation realm. It is a place where the dividing line between the fallen and the supernal is thin. And it's not just a place, but it could be an entire world or reality that you could step into. It could be that there is a portal to such a place that inside that is connected to the grandfather clock. Though if we take what Quentin hears in one of his dreams, Fillory finds a way to bring people to it.
Yeah, that's actually mentioned in that chapter. What is it? What's the one boy's name? I want to call him Rupert. I believe it's Rupert, the youngest brother, who said something like that to his siblings, that Fillory takes you to it when it wants you. It's almost like it's a living, thinking thing, which is interesting.
Which, from a mage perspective, if as an emanation realm and as a entity of magic itself is a living entity itself. A mage does not begin their magical journey entirely on their own. It is only through the watchtowers and through the intervention of the supernal that the path is even possible to walk.
So it's the next day when Quentin and Julia go to an admissions interview to Harvard. They go into the building where the interview will be, and they discover their interviewer is dead. And they call the police. Paramedics come by to take the body away, and they're eventually free to go. But before they go, they are handed an envelope and told that it was left there by the interviewer.
For him, this must be for you, says the paramedic.
So with this envelope in hand, they leave, and Quentin starts to inspect what it is, and he finds that it's the lost fictional 6th novel of the Filler and Further series.
It looks unpublished.
Yes, it's just a bunch of papers. Eventually, Quentin and Julia go their separate ways, and as Quentin is walking home, he walks past an alleyway, and one of the pages from the book blows away in the wind, and he goes to chase it. And as he's chasing it, it goes through some bushes, some shrubbery, whatever, and he chases it through there. And as he's moving through the shrubs, he kind of ends up in an area with lush trees, and then emerges in an empty field. An empty field with, campus, several buildings in the background.
Fairly far away. He does have to take a jaunt to get there.
Right. At the same time, roughly at the same time, Julia is also on her way home. I believe gets to her apartment building and enters the building, gets in the elevator. And then when she exits the elevator, she ends up in a completely separate building. And in front of her is a sign that is pointing to an exam.
Sure, I'll go take a test.
Right. They both come to find out that they are now somewhere in upstate New York at a place called Breakbills Academy. So they get to the exam room and sit down, and they don't really have an opportunity to ask any questions. And they start looking at the exam, and all the questions and everything are just kind of shifting around, and they just have to answer the questions.
I think this would be some sort of mind spell because, the things are moving around, and they obviously kind of understand how to answer them. I mean, that's the whole point. They do understand. Some of them maybe don't, but that's the point, is for the exam. So is it like a mind spell to see if their mind's working correctly or something?
Yeah, well, mind and matter to see that, and also to move the ink on the page.
Okay. Yep. No, as you were saying, and matter, I was saying yes, matter for the ink. So
it also might not be ink at all. If the point of the test is on telepathic or mind magic, it could be hallucination. Hallucination can make you see whatever you want it to. So maybe it's a spell designed to, it changes to the right question that you need to answer about, that's personal to your mind. And then you see that question, or however you expect that question to be on as a test. So it changes to that.
Prime too, because isn't prime about truth?
Sure, especially if it's tied to understanding, are you magical? The actual connection of whether something is in fact supernal and of that capability of changing reality.
Cool. So I think prime would definitely be in there. So I'm thinking from the perspective of Mage that in Magicians, that test is mind, matter, and prime.
So they finish the exam, and Quentin and Julia actually see each other there.
Very excited.
Yes. They go to separate meetings, and Julia is told that she wasn't accepted into the academy. And she says something about, I won't be able to just go back to Yale if I know that this place exists. And the guy says, oh, that's fine. We'll just remove your memories. Which, of course, I would imagine is a mind spell.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, straight up.
Definitely meant for.
The way it works, I would think even something like 2 or 3, because she sort of dispels it on her own by just
giving her a mental trigger.
Yeah, she cuts a mark in her arm.
I suppose suppose that means they're relying on something a little more subtle, something that relies on memory. Might even be a well thought out life spell.
I was just thinking life spell when you said that. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially because she can override it with physical triggers.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it could just be more direct, creating the pain, make the change in your actual brain. Then when the mind is changed, you can revert it back by attaching to the life component bypassed the direct deletion.
So what you're saying is that by scratching into her arm, making that mark, she was doing magic. And that was kind of a yantra.
Perhaps if you want to think of it as a life shielding spell.
I think it was. I mean,
and improvised, right? She doesn't actually know what she's doing, but she knows what she wants, and she figured it out.
Drawing the blood might have also given her mana, which is something that she would have needed in the game system to actually cast the life spell, assuming that she's not Thyrsis.
One of the things that we've been talking about here is the different ways that Quentin had been doing magic, knowingly, unknowingly, with his magic tricks. There's something real there, it feels like. I didn't think about that with Julia, who has been pushing away magic as she's gotten older. But of course she can innately do it. That's why they took her. So that's why that makes sense to me as as you guys were talking, it came into my head that, yeah, that is so definitely like a magical yantra that she did.
Yeah.
Like,
it focused her mind on the thing that she was trying to do.
And I think that like mages, that's how you do magic. Like when she learns how to do magic, you can create your own spells. That could be a spell to be created. Like,
and Chris's point that it's something called scouring, where when an injury is created, you can basically pull out of your own life force to empower your spell. If you combine the yantra and the scouring as a single act, it's basically pulling mana out for the spell. It's something that I imagine someone doing improvised spell would do.
Yeah, awesome, cool.
It's also a desperation move, because generally in the game you have enough mana that you don't. When you never even think about doing that, you'd have to be pretty empty on it to need to do that.
And she was pretty desperate and thinking fast.
Yeah.
And while she's getting her bad news, Quentin is in another exam room with a whole panel of people, and he's being told to do some magic. And he pulls out a deck of cards, and he actually knows some like mundane sleight of hand magic tricks. And he starts doing those, and he's stopped, and he's like, no, do real magic. And the proctor of the exam is being so insistent that he does the magic. He kind of pressures him a lot to do it. And Quentin eventually, in frustration, just kind of throws the deck of cards out, and the cards are all just floating in a circle in the air and spinning.
And then he faints.
Wait.
Yes.
Before he faints, the circle recomposes and turns into a palace.
Oh, yeah.
That moves. I mean, it has rotating parts.
Right.
It is either matter and forces. Matter, the cards themselves are the...
You're affecting the matter of the cards.
And the area and all of the stuff to create the display. There's no element of the spell that matter doesn't cover, so it makes sense that you can do it. Forces is literally picking them up and like forcing them around through the air. I would say there would be quite a bit of gusts of wind and other effects which we didn't see. So I lean towards matter. Forces would have a lot of unintended displays of energy.
Perhaps. But yeah, that works for me. It's either matter or forces. I can't see it being anything else.
So Quentin is accepted into the school. And his first night there, he has a dream. He's in Fillory, and he's having a conversation with a young Jane Chatwin. She tells him that he should not follow the garden path. And that's the phrase that sticks in his head when the dream ends. So the dream would be, I guess, a mind spell to enter his dreams.
The core of the spell, sending a dream to someone, is just mind. In fact, it's easier than you think, because minds are connected through the astral realm, so you can affect someone's dreams without having to meet them in person. Because you go through your soul up to the shared soul of reality, and then back down to theirs. Someone is tying into his subconscious and making him see things that he's only ever imagined in reading a book.
It's definitely dream, like going into his dream. She knows he's asleep. She can go in, which I've actually seen that same kind of concept used in other magical shows. It's relatively well established.
Yeah, it's a trope.
It's a trope.
It's a trope.
So the next day, Quentin is being given a tour by two other students, Elliot and Margot. And during the tour, that he's taken out into a courtyard, and he witnesses all other sorts of displays of magic.
Yeah, and Elliot is pointing out like the different ones and what they are,
right,
as they go along.
So there's these people doing kind of martial arts moves almost.
Martial arts, or there was also a feeling of Tai Chi to it too.
Yeah, some kind of meditative thing.
Yeah.
And while they're doing that, you can visibly see like the air or maybe just sort of raw energy kind of moving around their hands and stuff and making it all blurry and such.
It's not entirely clear what their magical specialty is, but it kind of looks like forces, I think.
It does.
Yeah, they call them physical kids. Right?
Oh, they did. Yeah, they pointed out and said those are the physical kids. So not quite sure what that means. You're right. I forgot they did
Forces
say that.
would make sense for that.
For that. Mm-hmm.
Maybe even a little bit of Prime. They're the Overmost.
Cool.
It could be. I mean, the categories are.
Yeah, they're not 1-to-1.
I mean, a lot of the physical stuff could be done with matter.
And I will say something about the show. I haven't read the books. There are books. I will say something about the show is we don't learn enough about the other houses. Like when you find out what you're good at, if it's physical stuff or healing or whatever.
It's your specializations. Mm-hmm. You don't. There's implied to be a lot more specializations than we realize.
Yeah, then we actually get to experience in the story because they stick to just the few characters.
Yeah, you the way you try to associate it as houses. I think of it more like mentorships. Like, because the few that we do meet, there's only like a few people who are like expert at like training you or whatever.
Yeah, but if you want to keep going with he kind of did this as Harry Potter, but more logical or better or whatever. Not like not trying to put words in his mouth. Then the specialties are the houses.
Well, it would make sense that you'd be tutored at what you're good at, not some arbitrary system meant to create rivalry within the community.
Just, thinking about one of my favorite shows that I rewatch pretty much every fall because it gets me in a wonderful, cozy mood, Gilmore Girls, where Rory goes to a private school, not sleepaway, but private. And they do pride themselves on creating a competitive atmosphere because they want successful graduates.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's an attitude.
Then after that, the next thing it cuts to is people moving a bunch of apples through the air, kind of like how Quentin had been moving his cards through the air.
Elliot says that they are the, what do you call them? I can't remember, but that's what he is, too.
Those are the physical kids.
Oh, these are also physical kids?
The apples.
Oh, maybe I'm more wrong. We were talking about the energy waves before?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay, the energy waves, I don't recall.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Well, the energy stuff still seems like...
Oh, that's just forces.
Forces
are prime.
Forces are prime. But then, the physical kids, and they're rotating. Elliott's like, this is my house. We go to, and we have the best parties. And he grabs one of the apples and bites it. And that seems definitely like forces. Or matter.
The physical kids, I imagine it's a combination of both. If it's focused on what is physical, it's going to be like affecting anything with matter.
So then Elliot kind of just casually mentions illusions and healing. I don't think there's really displays of that, but those are there.
They mention them. We get a little more healing later on in the series, but...
Yeah, healing would be life. Illusions would be mind maybe... Forces or prime?
Prime works because it's...
Truth?
Well, you set the meaning of a thing. Like, the object you're holding is something else, and it'll be treated that way. Also, there are some prime spells that use raw manipulations of mana, and that could be used to create an image or something more like traditional illusion magic from like D&D.
Mm-hmm.
And then it kind of pans to people circling around each other, and there's like a cloud forming above the circle.
Mm-hmm. And they have flowers in their hair. Some of them, it's very 1970s hippie look.
Mm-hmm. That one seems very Thyrsus, actually, but I was thinking more forces or matter or something. But it could be like spirit. for...
They're conjuring a spirit cloud or a spirit of weather. And with the nature, it does come off more like spirit and life, but with the weather, it comes off forces. So, like, yeah.
After that, he points out a pair of psychics, and as they walk past them, there's a little bit of a conversation they have in their minds.
Yeah, they're having a conversation with each other, which is like, telepathy, mind. And they can talk into other people's heads because Elliot insults them, and then they insult Elliot in his head.
Yeah, that's a basic mind spell.
Which I don't know why he thinks they're like he was being rude because he was acting like they're somehow like, you know, the creepy group or like, you know, the awkward ones. It's like, dude.
I would say mind can be very insular. Part of it's because they can go inside of themselves, and mind has a lot of influence within the astral, and like in terms of knowing other people. I mean, every person in the world, their inner world is just as infinite as their outer world. I think maybe the rivalry of physical versus telepathy is a sort of thought on focusing on your external reality and internal reality.
After the tour, Quentin is in one of his classes, and a student is called up named Alice to demonstrate some flashy thing. She transforms a glass ball into a horse, and then it starts prancing around.
But she scoops up pretty fast and runs back to her desk. One of those, I'm smart, but don't look at me that I'm smart. That's definitely forces, right? Or forces in matter. Or matter.
So the object reshaped itself and then galloped around. So that's the final effect is all matter, but there did appear to be some kind of energy involved because it glowed. So it's easier to imagine. I mean, at its final result, we have like a golem spell, turning an object into, or making an object alive. But they also had to reshape it. It's funny. You could probably, with forces, do using heat, like carefully applied heat, to reshape the object into the horse. But you still need matter to make it gallop.
Cool. So the next kind of magical thing happens with two characters. One that we've sort of already met. I just want to bring him up because Quentin's roommate, who they were sat next to each other during the test, and they already have kind of a awkward relationship where Penny doesn't like Quentin because of this. And when they were sitting next to the test, when everything started to move, Quentin's like, what the hell is this? Looked over at Penny's test, and Penny's like, you're cheating? So him and Quentin have a interesting relationship. Worst person to be roommates with. So he's in class, and the young lady in front of him is named Katie. And while Alice is doing her whole horse stuff and everything, these two were definitely kind of flirting, looking at each other. And Penny reads Katie's mind about, basically, she would love to spend some time with him. And he reads her mind, and he's like, basically, yes, all night, if that's what you want. So that's the first one, which is a mind spell. Yes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, direct. I mean, it's just telepathy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then the next scene is spending time together, coitus, as you will. And while they're experiencing coitus, they float up to the ceiling. And that would be forces.
Yeah. Levitation, manipulation of gravity. I could imagine a complex matter spell that, creating buoyancy, causing, floating.
Yeah.
Later, Quentin is at Julia's birthday party because he had been called there by her boyfriend, who was worried about Julia because she seemed kind of despondent, not really happy about the events. When he's talking to her, she displays that she can kind of make sparks fly from her fingertips. Very overt display of magic, and she's clearly knows about this thing. And Quentin was a little bit confused because he thought that everyone who didn't get accepted into break bills would have their memory wiped for pretty much exactly the reason they explained. And so you can clearly see that maybe whatever Julia did to stop that previous spell from working seemed to have an effect. Mm-hmm. And there's that sparks flying from her fingertips, which is clearly kind of a forces spell or maybe even a little bit of prime in there, but you could do that mostly just with forces.
I was definitely thinking forces.
I imagine a prime effect would be more divine aesthetically, because it's like that's like holy fire or
Okay.
Well, it could have been that kind of thing, especially considering the next thing that happens.
True. Okay. I know where you're going with this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Still at the bar, Julia is in the bathroom, and as she's at the sink washing her hands, she notices one of the buttons just kind of flies off her shirt and lands in the sink. And then a couple of seconds later, another one flies off and lands in the sink. And eventually her blouse is kind of torn off of her and used to like tie up her hands, and she's pushed back against the radiator in the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
And she is sort of approached by a man who's being kind of weird about it.
I will say, if I can jump in here, it's coming very, very close to one of those scenes that I cannot watch.
Yeah. And as the guy is approaching, flames erupt from Julia's hands, and she's able to just tear the shirt off of her hands and stand up. And she's showing this very overt display of power. And then the guy explains, like, no, I wasn't.
I had to scare you into thinking that I was going to do something terribly violent so you could, your magic would just innately burst out of you, is basically what he said. And she rightly still calls him several names.
It's the same. I mean, it's the same thing that the dean did to Quentin.
It is. It's the same thing. Scared them into throwing the magic out there. Yeah, it is the same.
Yeah. One of the themes of the show is magic comes from pain.
Yes, it is one of the themes of the show.
And yeah, it comes out to protect you from that pain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's those flames from her hand did seem a little prime and forces.
Why do you think there's prime in there?
It was the visual of the flames they looked more divine, as you put it, than the sparks that were coming from her fingertips.
If we can imply that there's some sort of spell in addition to the telekinetic thing, if it was like reinforced or whatever, the fire could act as the physical fire burning through the physical barrier, while the prime cutting through a spell barrier.
Well, the prime could be making fire itself. There's the celestial fire.
Yeah, a supernal fire harms things both physically and magically.
Mm-hmm.
It burns their mana away as well as harming their bodies.
Yeah. So another scene opens up with Quentin studying in the library, and he's hearing some knocking on a door, and he goes and opens it, and it just opens up into Fillory. And he goes through there and has another conversation with the young Jane Chatwin, and she eventually presses his hand onto a mark on a monument that's where they are.
Mm-hmm.
And it burns the symbol into his hand, and he wakes up, kind of revealing that whole sequence as a dream. But on his hand, he still has that mark.
And when he sees that mark, he actually recognizes it from a book that Alice was reading when he went to apologize to her when he thought that Elliot and Margot had teased her. And he saw that same mark on the book she was reading. So he's like, I need to go find Alice.
Mm-hmm.
So it reveals that the dreams are more than just dreams and more than just mind magic.
This is the first time I think that the dream had a direct effect on what was going to happen in the world. Like that he knew, okay, yeah.
The message in the dream is a mind effect, of course. And you'd assume the mark on the hand is a life effect.
Yeah. Life or prime. You could burn someone with heat?
The effect suggest the thing is you can you do a dream effect on someone with just that mind, but in order to physically target someone out of the dream, you're going to have to get a connection with the individual. So we're talking about a space coming into requirement here.
Oh yeah, space too.
Yeah, I guess you don't actually have to use space, but the mage would have to know space.
And then life for the burn on the hand.
Or whichever physical arcana you want to form that. it appears to be hot. So that to me that appears to be burning it.
Cool.
So Quentin goes to talk to Alice about the mark that he recognized from her book, and he shows her the mark on his hand, and she asks him for his help with something. And they meet up later in the library, and she says they're going to call to the other side because she wants to talk to her brother, who died a year or two ago under mysterious circumstances. It seems like it is known what happened by some people, but Alice is kind of talking like they just refused to tell her.
That's exactly why she's at the school. She said that she's not there because she wants to learn. Like,
Right.
she's there because she needs to find out what happened to her brother.
Mhm.
That is her purpose.
Yeah.
Calling to a ghost.
Yeah.
A death spell, most
Mhm.
definitely.
Both Death and Spirit have spells that are designed to weaken the boundaries between worlds. I mean, we're talking Death out of the fact that we're openly talking about a ghost. But yeah, mages can lower those.
Yeah, they can't really have a conversation with her actual brother because his soul would be gone if he's dead.
Mm-hmm.
So there wouldn't be a mind to connect to or anything. There would just be kind of the ghost remnant left behind, if that even exists.
Well, a ghost could have all the memories of her brother and knowing exactly how he was thinking, who he was at the time of the death. If she needs closure about something in their life, the ghost actually might be able to do that. Also, with a ghost, sometimes they need closure as well, and when that happens, they can move on. No one really knows what that means, but when it occurs, they disappear.
So the next scene that they jump to is Penny and Katie studying together. Katie's actually really into studying her flashcards, the magical stuff. But Penny looks very distressed and distracted in the background. And he finally tells Katie that he has to go. He has something he has to do. And she's like, you got to tell me what's going on, you know? And so he finally tells her that, look, I'm a psychic. Well, he doesn't say he's a psychic. He hates the term psychic. He says that he can hear voices. She's like, you're a psychic. He's, no, I'm not. Whatever. Penny has a lot of hangups. And so he's like, I'm hearing these voices and they tell me sometimes things that I need to do. And it's telling me right now that there are people that need my help. And Katie's like, cool, I'm coming with you. Then they head off and they reach one of their classrooms where Quentin and Alice are there to do the spell. And they just realized, reading the book, that they need 4 adept in different aspects of magic for this spell to work. And now there's 4 of them.
Yeah, actually, you see that a lot with magic, that need for multiple perspectives. A lot of the more legal elements also follow that same kind of thinking.
The voices seem like a nimbus effect for Penny. Because he wouldn't really cast a spell. He wouldn't be casting a spell to want to know.
I mean, this is the difference between a power and a spell, right? Like, he obviously has telepathy as a power in the sense that he is always can always hear voices. Mm-hmm. If it's a nimbus effect, it could be that is a side effect of the way his nimbus interacts with the world.
It would be interesting as a nimbus effect because, like, it's not like he's trying to hear the voices, but his magic, that's what his magic like does to him.
Mm-hmm. So they do the spell, and it doesn't appear to have any overt effect. But when they are leaving the room, there's a mirror by the door that fogs up, and then there's a little smiley face that's drawn in it.
That definitely what? Well, I'm not sure.
Well, so I think it's an indication that the spell did work. It just they didn't bring forth what they intended.
And they don't know what they brought forth yet.
Yeah, exactly. So it's that little cliffhanger. Because they thought they failed and walked away, but we see that something happened.
Mm-hmm. So is it a ghost? Is it a demon? What is it? We don't know.
The next day, they're in class, and suddenly all of the motion in the room ceases. The clock hand is jiggling back and forth like it's trying to move forward but can't. When that happens, it cuts to the dean, who is alarmed and starts to run off. And then it cuts back to the classroom, and from the mirror steps out a man who is surrounded by moths. Like, there's just this massive cloud of moths surrounding him.
Especially his face.
And you can't make out really any details on his face. He makes some motions with his hands, and as the camera's zoomed in on his hands, you see he has 6 fingers. When he's done with the motions, the proctor just falls over dead, just as the dean is running into the classroom, and kind of does his own display of magic and throws some energy force at the man. And he kind of just takes that energy blast and stumbles backward a little bit, but then just continues to approach and does different hand motions to start controlling the dean's body like a puppet, and eventually breaks each of his fingers and then reaches up and takes out both of his eyeballs. And he sets them on the desk, and as he does that, the coin that Quentin likes to play with falls onto the floor, which draws the man's attention. And he approaches Quentin and just says, "Quentin Clearwater." And that's the end of the episode. But obviously there's all the magic to talk about still.
Yes, and and it's hard to separate all that magic. It happens all at once.
That's all just...
So, stepping out of the mirror, which indicates that he's coming from another realm at minimum space, or he has access to emanation realms and abilities to pass to locations of his choice. He has some sort of magical shield with the moths. It's meant to not covering his face with moths. There's something more to that, a higher form of concealment of his identity. It's so bound to him. It's not just like I'm controlling moths to go around me. It's a direct like a shield or a veil. He has access to time magic. In fact, a mastery of it, with the ability to stop time.
Because he doesn't just stop time, like he stops time, nobody can move, but their eyeballs can, which is freaky. Like, I want you to see me, I want you to see what I'm doing, but you can't move.
Yeah.
I think it might be forces or matter where he stills the air so nothing can move through it. And that's what's preventing the clock from moving. Like, it's trying to move. The gears are still kind of trying to work. Like time is still moving forward, but nobody can move. And the only thing they can move are their eyeballs because they're not moving through the air.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Interesting. I like that. Okay, that works for me.
Especially if you assume that it's a matter or forces effect that's stopping things from moving, then allowing the coin to fall would be a fate effect on top of that.
And if it's time, it does seem there are certain points of it that are selective. Like,
even
why
if it's time.
can the eyes move? Although, actually, even if it's a forces matter, it still applies. Why are some things allowed to work and some other things not allowed to work?
Yeah, so then he kills the teacher, and he's doing all these hand motions and stuff, and it seems like that's a rote life spell that he's using to kill the proctor, and that hand motion seems like it's a yantra that he's using for that.
Something called a mudra. So what a rote is a master spell created by a master and can be taught to other mages. These are the spells that have names. They have histories and reputations. A lot of rotes include hand gestures as a means of encoding large amounts of the spell information so that they can be cast quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically what they are learning in this school, is a lot of those hand gestures for the different spells they're trying to learn.
Well, a lot of the spells they're casting are rotes that don't use mudras. When you need a kind of chalice or a kind of like specific form, those actually might be encoded as a rote, but the mudras are there to give them extra punch. Mudras are a more modern invention for quick spell casting. Rotes would in the past didn't necessarily include mudras. The mage who creates the spell chooses what's important for it. These are the kinds of spells that are written down in books. Everything else is really just improvised magic.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So then there's that force from the dean that he shoots out. That seems like a prime and or forces spell to me.
Definitely, I agree.
Yeah. Some kind of magical armor penetration, ward breaking spell.
Yeah.
Even has a bit of that standard fantasy runic kind of aesthetic.
Then controlling the dean obviously seems like more life magic to, puppet his body. And then I think even more life magic to just remove his eyeballs.
And break his fingers.
To break his fingers too.
He also kind of like lifted him up.
He did.
It's not so. It's not just it's not just causing him to raise his own arms up. It was forcing back in a paralytic effect. So it does feel life, animal forces, and it's a complex multi-arcana. This guy seems to be someone of very high gnosis, very lots of power. I mean, he's a multi-master. High-end mage. I'm not sure if he's what we would call an archmage, but he's definitely, if he's a mage at all, he's definitely a powerful one.
Yes. And then after setting down the dean's eyes, the coin suddenly falls off of Quentin's fingers where he'd been rolling it. And to me, that suggests there's a fate element to it, but actually even more than that, there's all the other stuff that's able to move within this stopped zone, which suggests fate.
I think this is building on what you were saying. This man with all the maws, when the coin fell out of Quentin's hands, it drew his attention to him, and he went right down and was like, oh, Quentin Clearwater, like, I know you. And to me, that would suggest a fate spell that not only for some reason do we believe this is the man who was called through the mirror. It just seems like that's kind of like he came through the same mirror that they had been doing the spell in front of, but he was looking for Quentin. The coin falling out of his hand was to alert him to where he was.
So he didn't know what Quentin looked like until the coin fell. Yeah,
which sounds like a fate effect to I want to find the person.
Exactly.
That's like an application of serendipity.
Cool. Yep. Awesome. And then the episode ends. So, cool. This was fun. I enjoyed this. I hope all of you listeners out there enjoyed it too. If you did enjoy it and you have your own thoughts on maybe what different magical spells or whatever could have been used, you can always go to our Instagram and give us your thoughts, as well as go to our Patreon and check us out over there. Until next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.